G'day and welcome to A Down Under Yarn. I am your host Fiona, also known as Fifykins. I am Fifykins on most social network sites. Today is Sunday the 24th of February 2013 and this is episode 9 of A Down Under Yarn. I'd like to welcome you all back, those who are returning visitors, and welcome any new visitors, new people who are checking me out for the first time. Please feel free to visit our Ravelry board, which is A Down Under Yarn, and join there, join in the conversation. I am recording inside today, a couple of reasons, mainly because Mimel's outside mowing the lawn and it's noisy out there with the mower going. So I thought I'd come inside, and also I haven't done any inside at the moment. Any inside yet. So I know the lighting's a bit different. There's a big shadow down here. There's a light directly above me, but if I turn that off it's too dark because it's now 6:26. So I suspect by the time I finish this in the next half hour it'll probably be dark outside. We don't get much dusk here in the tropics. It goes from light to dark pretty quickly. Administrati, I'm not sure why I put the on the end of it. It was pointed out in Stockinette Zombies I did that, so maybe I'm just trying to be a bit different. Anyway, I do have some. This week I uploaded all past episodes, and I'll also upload this episode to YouTube. There have been a number of people who've been saying they've had trouble watching the podcast, and I'm also looking at ways of getting away from Amazon. There you go, my camera just beach balled on me, my laptop, so I had to break that there. Sorry about that. I know people have been having issues with Blip, and I don't really feel like more rejection at the moment. I've got enough of my job letters to keep me going, so I don't want them to send me a yes but no but thank you. So if I can use YouTube to put the videos up on, then put them on the blog so that they've got the RSS feed for iTunes, that hopefully will be a way forward. And it will allow more people who have had trouble seeing the podcast before, seeing it now. Thank you. I had received a random act of pattern on Tuesday, and thank you very much for the person who sent that to me. And when I need it, I will mention you again. The prizes from last week have both been claimed, so thank you very much. I am getting to the post office tomorrow to post the stitch markers, and also I still have to send that email off to Kristen, but I have a note here to do that, so I'm going to do that whilst this is compressing. The knit along. Knit along actually starts on Friday. Friday is the 1st of March. This week is birthday week in our household. Well, it's the start of birthday week. My children's birthdays are 4 days apart. So it's Jasper's birthday on Thursday, then Imogen's birthday tomorrow week, so Monday week. And yeah, so lots of cake baking and lots of fun, lots of festivities. We aren't having parties yet. Jasper's having a party in a couple of weeks' time. He's got music camp next weekend. And Imogen, cat fluff all over me. Imogen is probably having a party for a going away party before she goes off to Japan. Now I've got cat fur in my mouth, sorry. But the knit along starts on Friday, and it's the Knit a Hug knit along, which is encouraging you to knit a hug. It can be a hug for you, it can be a hug for someone else for whom Mother's Day is going to be a challenging time. I've talked about it in previous episodes. If you want any more clarification, please speak to me. We do have a pattern that we've got a code for, and I thought I'd read Petra's post. Petra's been a viewer since day dot, I think, and her story is one that's really touched me in the weeks we've been talking about the lead up to this knit along. So I thought I'd read this out. It says, "Hi all, I've been affected by infertility since our baby was born at 25 weeks and he developed severe cerebral palsy as a result. For some reason, after the experience, we have never been able to fall pregnant again. I will knit a hug in the knit along. A few months ago, I wrote a pattern called Many Rivers to Cross when I found some yarn called Freedom of Spirit, which seemed very fitting to me, as he really is an amazing little boy who has battled so much. I decided to donate the entire proceeds to the Cerebral Palsy Foundation. If anyone would like to support the Cerebral Palsy Foundation for their hug, I've created a coupon code that reduces the cost of the pattern from $4 to only $1 with the coupon code HUG, capital H-U-G. $1 is a very affordable donation and would make a wonderful hug. Please feel free to share the coupon code and the explanation that is discounted for the Hug Knit Along. Coupon code is valid to the end of May. Happy hugging everyone, and thank you for supporting such an important cause. And I have a picture here of the pattern, and it really is beautiful. I'm hoping I'll get to knit this one in the knit along with other patterns I've got queued. There we are. So there is the gorgeous pattern. It's a DK weight pattern. I really, it's just beautiful. Yeah, 229 to 274 yards of two different DK weights. And I hope many of you can go out there and donate to Petra for the wonderful cause for the Cerebral Palsy Foundation. And buy the pattern. I'll put more information in the show notes. And of course, as always, the show notes can be found at fifykins.com. I have a couple of hugs I hope to knit over the next 2 months, and I will be sharing them over the next couple of weeks as well. So the week that was, as you may hear, I'm a bit snuffly. I woke up Tuesday morning and I was hoping to get out to the Breastfeeding Association morning tea get together. And I had a little bit of conjunctivitis and a really sore throat, and I thought, I don't want to be around pregnant women and young babies with that, so I thought I'll leave it. And of course it was Mimble's day off, so I went over to his place and he said, oh, you're just being a sook basically, which is what all good doctors say. And then later on that day I developed a bit of a sniffle. Woke up Wednesday morning feeling really quite shocking, with a really sore throat, really dripping nose and a bit of a cough, which has been going on for a few days. So the cold's basically gone for most part now. The cough's still there, but it's just viral. I know it's viral. Mimble has this thing, he doesn't like looking in my ears or checking my chest. He says, no, you've got a GP to do that, you've got to go and see your doctor. This time he did have a little listen, and he said, it's clear. So, yeah, he did that for me, which was very nice of him. I'm feeling, 110% better. I think this time I've noticed the cold has got better a lot quicker. I don't know if that's because I am eating a paleo way, where I'm trying not to use preservatives or anything that will inflame or cause inflammatory reactions in the body. I don't know, it may just be it was a mild cold. Who knows? Anyway, I'm hoping to talk next week more about my paleo journey once my 30-day challenge is up. But you're not meant to jump on the scales during the 30 days, but I may have snuck on during the week and put something up on Perk. Needless to say, I'm really impressed with how I'm going, and even if the scales didn't show what they did, I would be continuing this way because I've got so much more energy. I feel amazing, which is just wonderful. I actually wrote a job application this afternoon, did a couple more during the week. I find them really challenging now. There's only so many times you can apply selection criteria and how it relates to you and think, well, it hasn't done for any other jobs. I got another letter back and during the week that said, thank you very much, you're in our top 10 out of over 100 applicants. Oh, look, we've got a visitor. This is Max. But I'm not even successful for an interview. So yeah. Hey, Max. You going to say hello to people? Yeah, you're going to smooch. Max? Yeah, I know. No. Come on. This is Maxie Moo. Maxie Moo's a ragdoll cat. As you can see, he's just gone very ragdollish. Max, yes, hello? Say hello. He's beautiful, and he knows he's beautiful as well. And his favourite thing to do is to nestle into things, which is what he's going to do. I've been a part of a few VKNs this week, which has been lovely. And another reminder about our Wednesday evening VKN Aussie style. If you're free, that is good. We've had a few people in the last couple of weeks. If it doesn't suit you on Wednesday evening, please let me know. Monday evening is another night that usually suits me, so we could work something out. Or else you can catch me in any of the other VKNs as well, especially on the weekends. There's usually Sunday afternoon, Aussie time, which is Friday night, Saturday night, US time. Okay, on to the knitting. I don't actually have any finished objects this week, but I brought along a finished object of the past, and it is my Rockefeller shawl. Max, oh, I've got it. Aha, you missed it, and you're not getting that. Sorry. Just let me grab that. Aha. Missed. It's my Rockefeller shawl, and it's probably the project that I'm most proud of. because it challenged me in so many different ways. I think I'm still a fairly new knitter. I started knitting almost 2 years ago, so haven't really been knitting that long. My Spectra was probably the first project I tried. He's chasing his brother. My Spectra was the first project I tried after I'd been knitting for about 5 or 6 months. June, July, August, probably 4 months actually. And quite enjoyed that. And then when this mystery shawl came out, the mystery shawl the year before, I didn't bother trying. This one I did, and absolutely love it. If I hold it up like this, you can see I did 0 modifications. So it has the long wings on it. I used County Effect yarn in the rainbow colourway. I think that's EQ from memory. And the grey is Cascade Silk. Now, I was very hesitant to begin with because, of course, the Cascade Silk is a very plied yarn, whereas the County isn't. It's a scratchy sort of yarn. However, on blocking, it softened up a lot. And really, the silk yarn is used in garter stitch, and with the exception of the wings, where it creates a really nice balance as well, and a nice textural thing almost. If you run your hands down it, it's different. It's nice. I really love it. I've worn this a couple of times around. Been asked once where I bought it, which is always a compliment, I think. I love the size of it. Love the shape. Love that it drapes so nicely, and I just adore the colours. I love rainbow yarn, and really love this. So I thought I would share it. Yeah, probably a bit warm though for me to keep wearing it today. I'll put it back up here now that Max has moved. Works in progress. I have the same 2 that I had last week. I had hoped to cast on another pair of socks, but when I wasn't well, I didn't knit a lot during the week. When I felt flat, I slept. One day I slept most of the day, and the kids were off school. They were both sick during the week, so both had 2 days off, but different days. So I have my Wibbly Wobbly Timey Wimey socks, which is my Yarn vs Zombie, the Vampire base, which is a sparkly base, and I did have the card just here in my book, and I'll put it down somewhere. Here it is. It's the Vampire base. The colour is Through Time and Space. There's the Yarn vs Zombies. And you can find Kiki on Etsy. So I am almost ready. I think last week I'd just done the cuff. I can't remember. I'm almost ready to put the yarn in for the afterthought heel. And I would like to get these finished by Friday so I can enter them in the Stockinette Zombies Stripy Socks Knit Along. I'm not sure how I'll go with that. I mean, I shouldn't have that much of an issue. The only other thing I have on my needles, now I should mention I'm using a US 2.5, which is US 1.5, which is 2.5 millimeter needles. This is an Knit Pro or Knit Picks, the nickel ones, whatever they are, the metal ones. And they're in a very cute little project bag that I was gifted as part of a swap last year, which is always great for socks. I also, wait for it. Hello. Stop tickling. Go and mow the lawn. Thank you. Pardon me. I also have in my Slipped Stitch Studios Pride and Prejudice and Zombies bag my Heroic Knit Along. And I am loving this. I was a bit daunted, I suppose, doing a knit along for a sweater, not knowing what you were going to get. It's a huge commitment, really. With a shawl, you might need 1 or 2 skeins of yarn, and you think, yeah, if I don't like it, I'll just rip it out. I think with a sweater, it's more along the lines of, it's a big commitment, buying yarn, knitting along each week. Of course, seems like there's more stitches in a sweater, but I think it's the same as a pair of socks, people keep saying. But still, this is my progress. I am partway through clue 2. Here we go. So I finished clue 1. I think I was just about to divide for the sleeves last week. And I am down partway through clue 2. Now, if you look along the bottom there, probably can't see very well, but I've actually separated the bottom and created a tab where the buttonholes go. That's the buttonhole tab there. It's got a needle sticking in it, which is why it's better. Doesn't want to sit there properly. Pardon me. And I have 2 buttonholes there already. I've just done the second buttonhole a couple of rows back. I need to get a 3rd buttonhole in there and some more of the bottom stitching by Tuesday evening my time, Wednesday morning, which I suspect I'll be able to do quite easily. It's really meditative knitting at the moment, the way you do it. I was a bit daunted when I saw a version of ribbing, and I thought, ooh, I'm not sure about that, but this is a fantastic version of ribbing, which I'm really, really enjoying. I notice I've made one mistake on one stitch out in one of my tabs, but I don't think it's really going to matter. I like the way it looks. It may have looked a minuscule bit different. I'm alternating skeins, which I think I'm glad about because I'm getting quite a bit of variation in colour as it is. It's really hard to see the colour on here. That's not a bad shot. This is Malabrigo Rios in the Azul Profundo colour. And I am using my Addy Long lace needles, the 5mm US 8s. I really like these needles. I like the length of them because they fit in my hand a lot better. And I'm not pushing down on the cords at the end like I do in shorter needles. Well, that's how it feels anyway. I like the feeling of it. And I'm a pretty textural person at times, liking the feel of things. It has puckered a bit where I've carried the yarn up the back. These things happen. I think it'll probably block out okay. I'm not planning on giving this a big block. I tried it on before I separated for the tab and adored the way it fit. It was sort of figure hugging, but in a way that was flattering. And for a larger person, that can be challenging to find at times. So I'll do some more knitting on that tonight. It does seem a bit bizarre knitting on a worsted weight sweater in the middle of summer. But in the air conditioning, it's not too bad. It's not a portable project because I'm using 2 balls of yarn. So yes, I've got a foot going to sleep down here, so excuse me. I'm just going to move that leg. Acquisitions. I have a little bit to show you this week. I received my final shipment in the Yarn vs Zombies Tan Stripes colourway. Now I have really loved this club. Kiki has done an amazing job. Each month for 3 months we've received a ball of self-striping yarn and some tea and other accessories. This month it is on the Vampire base, which is a sparkly base, which is one of my favourites, and it's called Cleopatra Champagne, and it came with some chamomile tea, which is one of my favourites. So you can see here it's got the beautiful turquoise, the yellow, and then sort of a peachy apricot. It's not really coming up very well on the screen there. If I come forward a bit more, will it come up? No. It's probably a bit darker than what it's showing. I'm really looking forward to knitting this up. I think it'll probably become socks. I like doing my self-striping socks. There's a few patterns that have come out in the last week or so from people. Mel Trans Designs has a pattern she's sending out to test knitters, which is cabled, but she has knitted in self-striping sock, and it seems to be knitting up quite nicely. I've still got a couple of Megan from Stockinette Zombies. I've got a couple of patterns of hers for self-striping socks. So we'll see how we go. The other thing I ordered that was shipped with my Yarn Club, yeah hello, is the Tails base from Yarn vs Zombies in the Lifeblood colourway. And this is 100% superwash merino DK. It reminds me, it's a single ply yarn. That looks very orange, but it's actually quite red. Not sure where you'll find it to be more red. Anyway, this is for one of my knit-a-hug-knit-alongs. I really wanted something red. And I think the Lifeblood is quite a nice colour as well. The other thing I was very fortunate to get in an update a few weeks ago is I kind of used, there goes Max again, sorry, I kind of used the last bit of my, now the foot's gone to sleep, I'm sitting on the floor because of the light. If I sat in the window, it was too much light. But anyway, sorry. I used the last of my Christmas money and was very fortunate to get an update from Trailing Clouds, which is the Mind the Gap colourway. So Mind the Gap. I repeat, Mind the Gap. So that it represents all the colours of the London Underground. And you've got all the different lines represented by different colours, and I will knit this up. I am planning on getting some black sock yarn, and I'm going to knit black toes, black heels, and possibly black cuffs, so that I can use every last bit of this yarn and make sure it all matches and all looks nice, and it goes up my foot. I'm going to do them toe at a time, toe up, possibly, if I can get the yarns to be in the same spot, which would be a new experience for me, or else I will just do one at a time but do them toe up, so that I can make sure I use every last scrap of yarn. That's one of the reasons I want to use the contrast colour for the heel. I also received another mini skein from Trailing Clouds, and this is it's a beautiful reddy, pinky red colour. Mini skein, semi-solid, Trailing Clouds, so looking forward to adding that to something as well. I think that's about all I have in the knitting stakes this week. I don't have a lot planned for this coming, well, when I say I don't have a lot planned, tomorrow I am finally heading out to uni to see what's possible, see what would be involved for me to finish writing up my thesis and to get that published and get my degree finished. So if I could do that, that would be amazing. And if I had some support to do that from family and friends, which I have, I think it possibly could become a reality. I am, for those who don't know, I started a degree in education in the year 2000. That was when we were living in Adelaide, and that was the year I became pregnant with Jasper. So at the end of the year, I thought I'm not going back the following year, 2001, because Jasper's going to be a baby. I was going to take a whole year off, be a stay-at-home mum again, and then did that. Midway through the year, I got a phone call from the academic advisor saying, there's one subject, you've taken part one. This year we're offering part two. It's the last year we're offering part two, because next year we're going to separate the subjects. If you don't want to have to do both of them again, come and do this subject. So I did. Hello. You want to come and say hello? Max is being a bit sociable. Leo's over there lounging on the ground. And yes, I know. And no, it's not going to. Anyway, and then at the end, so I think I did 2 or 3 subjects. It was part-time in 2002, and that was the end of the year when we moved up to Cairns. And I transferred up here to JCU and did really well. Loved it, enjoyed all of it. Towards the end of my degree, the end of 3rd year, I was offered a place in the honours program, which I took. Yes, I was talked into it, but it was also research is something that interests me. And the focus of the year was going to be a research project. And it was midway through that year that my kid's dad got quite ill. His illness manifested itself in a way that meant he was unable to work. And it meant that I just didn't have the brain power to finish that year when I could have. That was 2005, I think. 2005, 2006. 2005, that was, in 2005. 2006, I tried to study but just couldn't get very where. Things were quite difficult at home. I also started working. I had to work because otherwise the family wouldn't have survived. And then in 2007, when we separated, I had to work even more. So it meant that since that time, it's been very difficult. But now I'd like to find some part-time work so that I can finish off some part-time study and actually get it done. Then I'll be able to apply for jobs. I did my final teaching prac in 2005. I don't really want to be in the classroom. I'm studying primary school, elementary teaching. I don't see myself in the classroom in a primary school. I possibly see myself middle or secondary school, but I'm not totally convinced on that either. I think I see myself more in adult education. If I can get a job at a TAFE, technical and further education, I think that would be something that I'd be interested in. I'd love to teach English as a second language to people. So we'll see how we go with that. But if I finish the degree, that will open more doors. And I hope that will be possible. I've put in for a part-time job today, actually out of the uni, and mentioned to them that that's what I wanted to do. Anyway, for the rest of the podcast, I'm going to address some of the Australiana questions that people have asked in the forum. And if you're not interested, I totally understand, and I will say, Uru, see you later, and see you next week. But if you are interested, you might want to hang around. So, where are we? So we had our 100-member giveaway where we had some questions posed. And we've also got another thread in there called Intriguing Australia. So I'll see how many I get through in the next few minutes. Now, I'm not an authority in all things Australian. I'm probably an authority on things that I've experienced. So if I don't necessarily know something, I will get back to you on that. Hello, Mr. Flirty Flirt. Okay, so I think the first thing, go back to page 1, so I automatically went to page 2. Okay. Winters. Do temperatures change much, or is there more rain in winter? Now that's a really good one, the climate of Australia. Where I live up in Cairns, it is in the tropics. So now is our wet season, where it rains a lot. We've had some rain this afternoon. We haven't had as much rain this year as last year, but it's also our hot time. So it's hot and humid. We are equivalent, I think we're a little bit closer to the equator than Hawaii if you go south and north. But not by very much, by a few hundred kilometres, a few hundred miles. So up here, that is when it rains. Down south, in the more temperate areas, it's more a Mediterranean climate. When we lived in Adelaide, it was very Mediterranean. People used to say the season changed at Anzac Day, which is end of April. And if you got rain before Anzac Day, it was going to be a great season. If you got it on Anzac Day, it was always going to be a good season. But if it came after that, it was late rain. And that is when the wet time is. So it's wet and wintry. That is in South Australia. In Melbourne, where I grew up, I grew up at the foot of the Dandenong Mountains, which are not mountains. It's a small range. It was where I learned to drive, which is quite exciting. And they have, every few years, they'll get a snowfall overnight, which is there in the morning, enough for the camera crews to get there, for the kids to build a snowman, to throw a snowball, and then it's melted by mid-morning. They don't have the snowfalls that you get over in America. There are ski fields in Victoria and in New South Wales along the Great Dividing Range. They have snow. The snow season is usually, I think it starts Queen's Birthday weekend, which is first weekend in June and goes through to September. Occasionally you'll get some snowfalls beforehand. They also have snowmaking machines though in a lot of these resorts to make sure there is the right quantity and quality of snow for skiing and snowboarding. So yeah, weather is very variable. We don't have anywhere that has the amount of snow that you see over in America. I think, I'm pretty sure Sydney is similar to California type thing, where usually it's cooler winters, but not freezing, and hot summers. So yeah. The wild animals like koalas and kangaroos. Yeah, I suppose to us, if you notice, sorry, it's just going dark outside, and it's probably it just changes. You can see the light behind me. That's at dusk. Anyway, the kangaroos and koalas, they're lovely animals, and I've seen koalas in the wild, I've seen kangaroos in the wild. Kangaroos you see along the side of the roads. If you're driving at dusk in a kangaroo area, a lot of people have route deterrers, which emit sounds from, they clip them onto their car somehow and it emits an ultra high sound that deters the kangaroos, otherwise they jump out. If you see a kangaroo jumping towards you, there's not much you can do, and it can prove fatal. So yeah, the Australian accent, life on an island, and celebrating Christmas during the summer. I've always celebrated Christmas in summer. It'd be well over 10 years, it'd be 20 years ago almost now, my mother went and did Christmas in Salzburg, New Year's in Vienna or something. She did a tour with a group of people and loved it, and said that singing Silent Night when it was freezing outside was just magical. They dimmed the church and lit candles, and she said it was all just lovely. So it's what we're used to. I suppose it's the same if you're somewhere where it's like somewhere like Mel in Hawaii. You probably have a very similar experience of Christmas where, yes, it'd probably be cooler than it would be in June, July. In Australia, it is quite common to have Christmas in July or Christmas in winter, midwinter festivals, which can be quite fun. The number of poisonous fauna. There seem to be a lot, but not many people die from them. I think it's probably a nice way of looking at it. Yes, there are quite a few snakes and spiders, but the number of people who get bitten and die is very, very rare. We get taught in first aid how to deal with snake bites. Even at school, you get taught how to wrap bandages, splint it, not to go near snakes, not to stick your hand in places they are, that they're more scared of you than you are of them. Likewise, in Sydney, they have funnel web spiders. You don't garden without gloves. That's just a given. Up here, you don't go swimming in summer because of the jellyfish. I wouldn't go surfing off the West Australian coast because of sharks, but that's just me. A lot of people prefer the waves, and because of the waves, they're happy to go surfing. Australian Aborigines and their way of life. The Indigenous people of Australia have a long tradition, and it's one that other Australian settlers have grown to learn about. It's compulsory to learn about it in schools, which is fantastic. And it's something that I'm very aware of. I've been out to an Indigenous community in the Northern Territory, and when I was a teenager, and we stayed there overnight, and we were taken. All the women were separated, and the men, and we were shown female customs, and even today, out of respect, I don't share them with other people because that's what we were asked not to do. We were told these are our customs, please don't. We shared them with the group of people we were with, and likewise the men were taken off and they shared their customs. It's a really interesting way of life. It's also very sad to see the Europeanisation of the country and the effect that has had on Indigenous people. I know alcohol abuse is probably similar in black and white, between black Australians and white Australians, Indigenous, non-Indigenous, but still the effects that the alcoholism has on Indigenous Australians and their health outcomes are not good, and it's something we really need to address as a society. The language and slang. I've been trying to learn American in some VKNs, which people seem to laugh at because they're like, all I can seem to do is talk Southern. Life is like a box of chocolates. And I think that the Australian things, occasionally I'll come out with sayings and people go, what do you mean? What do you mean? Fair shake of the sauce bottle was one during the week, and that's what our former Prime Minister used. Fair shake of the sauce bottle. It means you're sort of, you're pulling my leg, you're having me on. Or fair suck of the sav, or the savaloy. The other thing I heard this morning, someone on the radio said, don't beat around the bush. And that means get to the point. Don't beat around the bush. That's another Australianism, and I thought I'd try and come up with some more and insert them in other episodes. I think there are other things that I'll go on with next time. We've got sport, which is huge in Australia. We've got a very big sporting culture, and it seems at times if you don't follow sport, you're the odd one out. Sport and culture at times don't mix, at times they do, which is, it's fascinating. We are a very spread out population here. We have the majority of people living around the coastline, and the majority of people also live in major cities. I'm in Cairns, which is part of Queensland. Closest capital city is Brisbane. Population's around 100,000. So it's not big by any means, but it's quite nice. Aussie slang, yep. Vegemite, yes. Vegemite is an acquired taste, I think is a polite way of saying it. I love it. Some people don't. I use Vegemite in my bolognese. Some people think that's an abomination. It's quite salty, but it's really yummy. I really like it. And yes, the water does go down the drain the opposite way. So I think I'll leave it at that this week. I will, if people, there's one thing though that it's very hard to explain. If you'd like to go to Wikipedia and look up the deadly drop bear, the Australian drop bear, it is probably something that if you're planning on coming to Australia or visiting Australia, you really need to be aware of it. But beware, some of the images you find may be very confronting. And it's something I suppose the tourism authorities don't want people to hear about, because, yeah, people hear about crocodiles and snakes and spiders, but the drop bear is really, and also the bunyips. Bunyips are also really, yeah, so drop bears and bunyips, something you might like to look at, and I'll put both of those in the show notes. But I think that's about it. I have gone on for a bit longer than I hoped, and I will be back next week. You can see now it is almost dark outside, and I bet Nimble hasn't been able to finish the lawns, and he hasn't been out in the nature strips, which is where they desperately need to get mowed. But still, there's always Tuesday and his day off for him to do that, or else I might even have to go myself tomorrow. So until next week, I will say uru and cheers. Bye.